For those who don't know, gesture is the simplification of weight and movement in figures. A few months ago, I resolved to lock in and practice. Today I'll share what I've learned after doing 1,000 of these gesture drawings. Let's talk practice material. I want to bequeath upon you a few resources that were very helpful to me. Firstly, the website Line of Action, which has several fabulous tools for timed practice. It takes less than 10 seconds to get up and go, which makes getting in those gesture reps super convenient. Since starting is half the battle, this helped me a lot with consistency in practice. For a better understanding of gesture itself, the single most helpful video to me was the Gesture and Anatomy demo by Michael Hampton on the website Proko. It's a little over an hour, completely free, and packed with information that really demystified gesture for me. Both of these will be linked in the description. Now we'll move on to the fruits of my learning labor. Firstly, I learned that asymmetry is not the enemy. Bilateral symmetry is often posited as this beautiful thing, especially bodily and facial symmetry. Discussions of symmetry call to mind the distinct agony of flipping a canvas or trying in vain to draw the far eye. For a long time, I was frustrated with my work because I conflated good structure and symmetry with appealing art. I would flip my canvas ad infinitum and work super small to try to iron out all my mistakes. After watching the Michael Hampton video, I learned that despite symmetry being an element of design and a helpful tool for composition, as well as a bullet in the bandolier of beauty standards, it's actually super counterintuitive for drawing the figure, simply because bodies are balanced asymmetrically. For our muscles to do their job, they need to be able to stretch and tighten in a way that complements, not mirrors, other muscles. This is also true of the spine, which is not at all straight up and down, but curving in a way that helps us distribute our weight and stand steadily. Over 1,000 gestures, I learned to focus on just catching the next line in a series of curves of the figure, and to focus on distributing weight in a natural give-and-take zigzag rather than work myself into a tizzy trying to get the anatomy perfect on a micro level. With time, it became much more automatic to create poses that felt like they flowed. Where anatomy was concerned, I then learned to leave plenty to the imagination. Like I said concerning anatomy earlier, I have a bad habit of zooming in way too far on an image and trying to get all the details right before I even know my pose or layout. Doing the gestures, especially shorter ones to the tune of 30 seconds, made me work much more efficiently. I learned that I didn't have to draw every muscle to imply their presence, and also sometimes that worrying about drawing every muscle diluted the focus of a drawing and slowed me down. I learned to focus on the impression of the pose, and with practice, I found visual language that worked for me. Not just by copying down the shapes that I saw on the page, or doing gestures the way others taught them, but by finding which elements of the pose and of the body I needed to translate to get a quick impression. After 1,000 plus poses, I feel like I have my own strategy in shorthand to tackle these challenging poses, and a toolbox to conjure them up from my imagination. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I learned that practice shouldn't be perfect. Almost every day that I did these gesture drawings, I'd do maybe a page of them, and they were also my warm-up for the day. The first few were always woefully scuffed. With time, I learned to become okay with that, which might be the most useful skill that came out of this whole exercise. I think it's very easy with any creative hobby to be so self-critical that you talk yourself out of practice entirely, because it feels too bad to not be where you want to be. The first 20 or so gesture drawings I did made me feel totally clueless, but I kept going. I told myself that it didn't really matter if they were ugly. Even if I didn't like a particular gesture, I could learn what not to do from it. And so the time wasn't wasted. I usually work digitally, but I did almost all of these in my sketchbook. And so eventually I could really see the gestures starting to add up. Even if I had an off day, or I felt my progress stagnate, I could look back at all the gestures before and know that I was putting mileage on the skills I wanted to improve. At the beginning, I found gestures intimidating and confusing. Now I do them to warm up and to relax. I still have a lot to learn, but I'm not scared to practice anymore. If you're in the same boat that I was, this is your sign to watch that Michael Hampton video, open up Line of Action, put on some music, a show, or a podcast, and let it rip for half an hour. If you do, let me know how it went. I love the feeling of flow that starts after a while of gesture drawing, and I want to share it with all of you. Until next time.